thank the chairman. I yield back.
Thank you very much. Mr. Inglis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Gillespie, under the Mexico City policy, NGOs can distribute contraceptives, right?
Would you use the mic? We can't hear Dr. Gillespie.
You mean if they have signed on to the Mexico City policy?
If an NGO wants to distribute contraceptives, they can, right?
Yes.
And they can do that with U.S. dollars?
If they have not signed the Mexico City policy,
right.
then they can't do it with U.S.
Correct.
dollars. If they have, then they obviously can.
So if an NGO wants to, they can use American dollars, American resources, and they can do contraceptive education, distribution in their countries, correct?
Yes, if they sign on.
So what's your problem?
What's my problem?
Yeah.
My problem is the conditionalities that are imposed by Mexico City, which prevents them from doing things that are probably legal in their country, and which deprives them access to U.S. AID dollars.
Right. You want them to do abortions. You want them to be able to do abortions. That's your problem, right?
That's your projection, not mine. I didn't say that.
We just established an NGO, if it wants to, can draw down American dollars and distribute contraceptives. Now you're saying that you have a problem. Your problem is simply that they can't provide abortion services or counsel for abortion services. Isn't that right? That's your problem.
Well, my problem is that, like many people in this room, have a notion of freedom of speech.
Well, no, this isn't a question of freedom of speech. If I want to...
No, I beg to differ with you. It is.
It is not a question of free speech, because I don't have the right to reach into your pocket and get money out to go run my campaign commercials, do I? No, I don't have the right to use your money to exercise my right to speak. I do have a right to speak. That means freely on the street corner, or if I want to pay for it, I've got to use my money to do that.
Well, they want to use their money too. And if you're referring to the fungibility issue, is that what you're referring to?
That's what we're getting to next, yeah.
Okay, well then why do you allow CDC funds to go to these organizations? Why do you allow USAID, HIV, AIDS funds to go to these organizations? Why do you allow other U.S. government funds to go to these organizations if this pervasive fungibility exists?
Well, it's a good question. I think we should look into it.
Well, first of all, I don't think the fungibility issue is much of an issue.
Well,
secondly,
why
if it
do you
is...
not think it's an issue? Because it clearly is the objection, as one of the
no,
witnesses said...
It's one of the rationale of the Mexico City policy, and it's a bogus one.
No, that's one of the witnesses said a second ago that it should be consistent with the ethics of that country. And of course, it seems to be the ethics of many people in this country, quite contrary to your ethics, that earlier you declared that there is no personhood in the person in the womb. And
we can debate that issue. But that's our right.
There are a good number of us who have decided that that is a moral question that we have answered. And in fact, the trouble for you is that most Americans really are answering that the way that, in seeing the ultrasounds, they're deciding it's a person. They're coming to a very different conclusion than you are. So you...
Well, in fact, survey data doesn't show that, but go ahead.
Well, I think it does. In
no,
fact,
what
you look at is well, dueling pollsters will
but we can
sure
have this discussion. If I were a foreign NGO representative, in order to get USAID funds, we could not have this discussion if we lived in Ghana or wherever.
You can get those funds, though, to distribute contraceptives, to do education programs, and do all those things. The one thing that you want them to have the ability to do is what many people in this country find morally repugnant, and that is to use taxpayer dollars, American taxpayer dollars, to kill children.
That's totally wrong. I object to that. I worked for USAID for 30 years. Once the Helms Amendment was enacted in 1973, I can guarantee you there was no taxpayers' money being used to support or promote abortion
Right.
as a method of family planning.
If I get,
so that's just inaccurate.
If I have a budget where I'm going to spend some dollars on abortion services and some dollars on contraceptives, and you flow money, and I'm on my own, and suddenly I get a source of outside dollars, it fills up the bucket that I was going to give to contraceptives. Doesn't it make sense that that money just flowed over into the other bucket? It's clearly money is fungible. I don't know how you could assert otherwise. The money is clearly fungible. Once you give it to an organization that does this other work that you so much want done, which is a provision of abortion, they're using the other money in that the pot that's just flooded over into the other one, are they not?
Well, you could make funds fungible. What I'm saying is that, in my experience, very few organizations do that. If you feel that is a major problem, then the Congress should pass legislation that does not allow us to give foreign assistance to governments in the developing country that provide abortion services, or NGOs.
Sounds like a good idea.
Well, I think that follows the logic,
and of course,
however illogical it is.
The other logic is here domestically that Planned Parenthood does the same thing with U.S. taxpayer dollars here in the United States. Takes money that flows into one pot, causes money to flow into the pot that they really want to provide, which is abortion services, right?
Well, I can't speak to that. I don't know the domestic thing.
And of course, I agree, as I said to Ms. Lowy earlier, I think we should have a consistent policy here domestically and internationally, and I hope we get to it.
And I think in order to also be consistent, as has been stated by many people today, is that no one, I don't think, is really pro-abortion in the sense that they would like to see more abortions. I think everybody on this panel certainly would like to see fewer abortions, fewer safe abortions, fewer unsafe abortions, no matter what kind of tag you want to pull to it. So why not increase significantly the amount of funds going for family planning to a good, excellent family planning program that everybody seems to agree upon on that USAID has a good family planning program. If you want to prevent abortions, then why not double it? Why not triple it?
Right, and I think my time has expired. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.